Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, February 10th, 2016, show number 1079. I am your host, as always, Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining me. Someone pointed out to me today that cameras off? No, cameras on. Cameras good. And now my lights don't. I got a little shiny head. Shiny head. Why is my head so shiny all of a sudden? Oh my goodness, sorry, I'll just do this for the whole show. Pointed out to me that in March, it'll be 22 years of broadcasting. I will have been doing a show on the interwebs in March, next month, for 22 years. That's bizarre. That's a really weird thought that I've been doing this for so long. As always, send me emails during the show to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. I love getting emails from you guys. Send me emails during the week to the same address or to Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com. Sherry says I was in elementary school then. Shut up. Shut up. Don't say stuff like that. That's mean. That's a little bit cruel, Sherry. Jesus. It has been a long time. On air, yourmaclifeshow.com if you'd like to comment on anything we talk about on the show or during the week or whatever it might be. On tonight's show, as always, we'll talk to our friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about, he had a really nice article, a little update on his fitness and the Apple Watch and all the weight he's lost and things like that. We'll talk to him about that and about slamming Tim Cook, whether it's fair or not. I don't know if you guys heard the story, but Tim Cook posted a photo from the field level of Super Bowl 50. And it was a shitty photo, Tim. There's no way around it. But, there was 18 million other shitty photos taken at the same time. We'll talk to Jim about that, whether or not it was fair to give Tim Cook the gears over the photo. We're also in our starting point photography segment. My sister, Kathy, in Kingston, Ontario, lovely Kingston, Ontario, just got back from Jamaica. And she sends me this picture. And she says, is there something you can do with the picture? Can you fix the picture? And so we're going to talk about that with a low light shot. So we're going to talk a little bit about low light photography and the iPhone on our starting point photography segment. So did you watch the Super Bowl? Did you enjoy the Super Bowl? Did you win any money in the Super Bowl? The days are long gone where I hang out with a bunch of friends making silly bets on the Super Bowl. We used to do that in college all the time. There'd be 10, 15 guys. And in those days, we were obviously a lot more sexist, but there was no girls. It was just a bunch of guys sitting around drinking beer, watching football. It was great. I still remember the one year, I think the guy's name was Mark. We were all over at Mark's house. He had the biggest house. And we come in, and his girlfriend, lovely girl, was like over in the corner reading a book. She was sitting on a settee or something like that. She was completely out of the way. And we were like, dude, what's your girlfriend doing here? And he was, she just didn't want to go anywhere, so she's going to hang out, but don't worry about it. You won't even notice her. And sure enough, we didn't. We sat there and we ate and chips and made funny bets. We all had dollar bills. We were betting, I'll bet you this happens next. Okay, I'll bet you, that kind of stuff. We were having a great time. And then sometime, I think at halftime or beginning of the third quarter, it's quiet just for a moment. And this little voice from the back of the room, his girlfriend, says, and I know she did it absentmindedly. She had to have done it absentmindedly. Wasn't thinking. Looks up from her book and says to Mark, Pookie, would you bring me a beer? And we all just died. Just died. We were like, Pookie? She just called you Pookie? Dude, are you kidding me? For the rest of his life that I knew him, the rest of the time, another 5 years before I moved, that was his name, Pookie. We all called him Pookie. That was the only name he got. And every year at Super Bowl time, we put an ad in the North Shore News, the local paper, that said, in the lost and found section, lost, self-respect. If found, called Pookie. The poor guy. Yeah, Monty says, so his new nickname for the rest of his life is Pookie. Exactly. If I saw him on the street tomorrow, I wouldn't say, hey, Mark, how you doing? I'd be like, hey, Pookie. You're just done. That's it, dude. You're just stuck with it. Own the name. You're Pookie. It was hilarious. And the other problem is that we have up here in Canada is that we don't get the same Super Bowl commercials that you lucky Americans get. We get some of them, but not all of them. We get, I'd say about half, maybe, because of Canadian content laws. Even if we're watching the American station, even if we're watching CBS or NBC or ABC, American TV networks are allowed to insert their ads in replacing some Super Bowl ads. And I know there's a formula. I know they replace certain ones. So we didn't get to see all the ads that you lucky folks in America did. But, almost all of them are online nowadays. MacMan, yeah, I thought the ads were pretty lame. I was just about to say that. It seems like there was a lot of just bleh ads. Some of them were weird, like that puppy monkey baby, the Mountain Dew ad. What the hell was going on there? That was just strange. Just bizarre ad. Just nothing about that ad was in the slightest bit fun or funny. It just made you go, what the hell? It is funny, though, that normally I watch football and I fast forward things, but you can't fast forward to the Super Bowl commercials because you want to watch them. I think the avocados from Mexico ad was kind of funny. The good thing about it is it got the point across, too. I didn't know Mexico, makes sense. But I never thought about buying Mexican avocados. But now, you because of the ad, you might think about it. I thought it was a very well done ad. The Jeff Goldblum Apartments.com ad, I think was stupid. I didn't like that one at all. The astronaut ad, the Audi astronaut ad, I think took a long time to make its point, but it turned out to be a very sweet ad eventually. Without a doubt, the best ad of all of them, and this is for a product I don't like, but they often have good advertisements, was Budweiser's Helen Mirren ad. I thought that was just brilliant. Utterly, utterly brilliant. If the beer wasn't such crap, I'd drink it just for that. The fact that this very classy, very sexy Helen Mirren is calling you a pillock for drinking and driving, I thought was just a fantastic ad. I watched it several times. I love that ad. There's a bunch of ads that were just dumb. Hyundai trying to make Kevin Hart look intimidating or tough. Complete fail. Guy's like 5 feet tall. He doesn't scare anybody. The Dorito ad was really, really weird. That was just very, very strange. But yeah, definitely Puppy Monkey Baby was my vote for just the one that would just maybe go, what the hell are you guys thinking when it comes to these ads? Mosquito says NPR did a funny haiku Super Bowl piece. Yeah, I didn't see any of that stuff because I wasn't paying much attention. The dancing claymation intestines was again weird. Another strange one. What other ones were they? The Amazon Echo ads were okay with Alec Baldwin. Didn't do a whole lot for me one way or the other. But definitely the Helen Mirren ad was the one that just really, A, it hit home, B, it was well done. The other thing about it I love was that she was sitting in obviously a very classy kind of restaurant eating a burger. And you get that sense that's what Helen Mirren would do, don't you? You think that's exactly the kind of person Helen Mirren would be. That even at the fanciest restaurant, if she wanted a burger, she'd have a burger. She seems like a kind of cool chick, in the old term broad, that'd be fun to sit down and have a beer with. I think she'd be just a lot of fun. And as Mosquito says, you'll always have me at Helen Mirren. Yeah, I'd watch her read the phone book. I'm the same way. I think she's funny and gorgeous and sexy, a great actress. She's one of those actresses that no matter what they do, I'll watch it. Even if I know the movie's bad, even if I know the thing is going to be bad, I'll watch it because of her. I'll give it a lot of opportunity just because she's in it. Same with Idris Elba, another great actor, a guy who just has an intensity to him that no matter what he's doing, I'll watch it. Kevin Spacey, another guy that no matter what he's doing, even his E-Trade ads, which I think are terrible ads, I love watching him in them because of his intensity. Mosquito says, Helen Mirren gives me hope that humans can remain cool and hot throughout their lives. Not many of us, but she certainly pulls off cool and hot. She does a great job at pulling off cool and hot. So the Super Bowl Tim Cook thing, if you've seen it, what's your opinion? Is it fair for the internet, for lack of a better term, to slam Tim Cook? I asked Brian Monroe this in the IRC chat room earlier, and he said no. That's a fair opinion. I have no problem with that. By the way, you can get into the IRC if you'd like by going to the front page of the YourMacLifeShow.com website. And right there below the video, you'll be able to see our friend Monty has put it in there so that all you do is type a name in there, and you'll get dropped into our IRC chat room. Don't worry about if you don't know anything about IRC. The reason why I've set this up is so that you can watch and participate, if you so choose, in the IRC easily. I also got another email from folks who are asking about the YouTube video. And again, YouTube is anywhere between 30 seconds to 60 seconds behind the video you're watching on Google Hangouts. So if you want more immediacy, then you have to watch on Google Hangouts. I don't know why there's a delay with YouTube, but there's a significant delay from the time I say something till the folks on YouTube hear it. So I just want to remind you guys of that. Dave D says, Shawn King didn't see it. This is about the picture. Anyone can take a bad picture. Yep, that's fair. That's fair. This was a bad picture. This is the same picture that 18 million other people took. We've all taken bad pictures. It's the nature of photography. You can't take a perfect picture every single time. Tim Cook took a bad picture. But we'll talk about the but later on in the show. Like I said, later we'll talk about low light photography and how you can fix it, or how you can make it less bad is maybe the better way to put it. But up next, we'll talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life, and live, coming to us live from under a bridge somewhere in California is our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Shawn. How are you?
Did you get to see the Super Bowl underneath the bridge?
Well, it was kind of different because there's no electricity under the bridge, so we actually had to act it out. But, you know, the results were pretty much the same.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? We can always crowd start or kickstart a fund for you for a generator. One of those Honda ones.
It'd never last.
Yeah, it's true. It gets stolen. You're right. Good point. Good point. So did you have any thoughts or opinions about the commercials this time around?
I didn't find anything that really grabbed me. There was one with a Moorcat or Morad or something. That was kind of funny.
I was saying to the audience earlier, I think the best one was the Helen Mirren Budweiser ad.
Yeah.
I think it was the best of the best of the bunch, and as we were saying, it was kind of lame. The commercial wise, it wasn't nearly as good as I remember previous years being. I don't know if we're getting jaded. Actually, someone mentioned that on some website that Super Bowl ads may have passed their best buy date, that they're no longer nearly as effective as they used to be. A lot of them are now online days and weeks before they actually show up on the game, and maybe the the ads have passed their prime when it comes to exciting us and in our interest in them. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great for years, but the thing now, like so many things, there are so many different ways to be able to get things.
Yep.
Yep. So, I don't know. I mean, it's like the halftime show. I know that some people didn't like my comments about the halftime show, but I know people who really like Coldplay and Beyonce and Bruno Mars, and even they said it was boring. I thought it was boring.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but then to me, I think all halftime shows are boring. I don't know the point of them. The only one that really excited me was Prince when he did it, but I'm biased because I love Prince. But for the most part, halftime shows in general don't do anything for me. So I don't have much of an opinion about whether it was good or not because, while I like those artists, I'm embarrassed to say how much I like Bruno Mars. And the boy can dance. Damn, that son can move. But yeah,
not as good as me, but
well, I've seen you dance too. You can get down. You can't get back up again, but you can get down.
Yeah, I can get down. Well, back in the day, having Michael Jackson at the Super Bowl was huge. That was a big one. There were some big halftime shows, but again, that's at a time when you couldn't go on YouTube and just watch videos of people's concerts. But now you can buy the videos. You can go on YouTube and watch the videos. You can see these people anytime you want.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't. Then if you saw Michael Jackson, it was live, and that's it. You saw him live, and most people, I don't think really got to see them. A lot of these big artists, so to see them at the Super Bowl, that was amazing.
I wonder if it's the nature of big events that they eventually collapse under their own weight. We've seen it happen with Comdex. We've seen it maybe starting to happen with CES. So we certainly saw it with Macworld Expo.
It almost happened to me.
Well, yeah, exactly. we're going to get to that in a second. But maybe everything has its own half-life. And maybe the Super Bowl halftime show, its half-life, and the ads, their half-life is over.
I think when you look at the Super Bowl, really, it's no different than anything else. I mean, we want instant gratification for things. The Coldplay playing at the Super Bowl, so what?
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not saying that Metallica would have been better, but Metallica would have been better. But still, even that, I mean, I've got Metallica videos that I've purchased, and I can watch a concert of theirs anytime. I went to see them last Saturday night.
Yep.
So to see them at the Super Bowl, big thing?
Yeah.
Not really.
Let's move on to other big things. You posted another interesting article up on the Loop called Apple Watch, Weight Loss, and Me. We've talked several times about you and your weight loss efforts, or minimal as they may be. Do you think you could have done this without the Apple Watch? I know I probably asked that question to you before, but do you think you could have lost the weight you did lose in the period of time you lost it without the Apple Watch?
I think the difference is, could I have done it without the watch? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Would I have done it? No. Because I wouldn't have even tried, because I didn't realize until HealthKit and the Apple Watch what that information would do for me.
Yeah.
So really it comes down to information. That's all it is for me. I don't need the motivation, somebody yelling at me to go do this. I just need the information. And I'll parse the information myself and understand that if I eat 4 Big Macs for dinner, that's not going to be a good thing. Maybe 2 is okay, but
But the interesting thing is that you already knew that. And you're a smart guy. You knew that eating 4 Big Macs was a bad thing. How did the Apple Watch make you realize that it was a bad thing?
It's just that it gave me the info that I needed to say, okay, well, what if I don't do this? It was more of an experiment with myself. That's why I never told anybody.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I didn't want people to say, oh, so how's it going? I just did it myself and said, okay, what if I don't do that, but I have something else instead?
Mm-hmm.
And then, Apple Watch would come back and say, because you did that and you walked and, your rings are filling up and you burn calories and you stood up for 12 hours, and before it would have come up and said you stood up for 2 hours today.
Yeah.
And you didn't burn a single calorie except when you rolled to the fridge to get a beer.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, there's no exercise plan that involves rolling to the fridge.
There really isn't. I've looked. Trust me, I've looked for one myself. Now, I know you mentioned in the past too that you go to a local gym. Have you ever hired a trainer to help you work out better or more efficiently at the gym?
No, and maybe at some point I'll get there. That I do need to be, and again, it's about the efficiency of time.
Yeah.
So maybe if he says or she says, you should do these things, then that will be a better thing for me to do. I don't know. I'm still not there yet. I'll see when the time comes.
I think Dave D in the IRC chat room puts a great spin on this. He said it's all about setting low expectations. Normally we think those are bad things, low expectations. But here, your expectations were low, maybe isn't the wrong word, manageable.
My expectations were zero.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Although you did have a huge number of pounds you wanted to lose. Your expectations of the speed or how you would do that was very low.
And the only reason I had that one expectation of pounds is because, the apps wanted me to do that.
Yeah.
And so, okay, here's a number for you. And, it didn't really make any difference in how I did things.
Yeah.
I did things as I did. And, I got one of those Wi-Fi scales, and I would use that. And, it helped me keep track of things, and that gave me more information, and that was on my watch. And, as my watch would pop up and show me things, then I would know if I was doing good or not. I mean, the past couple of days have been very busy, and I hadn't had a chance to work out. And I can see that. I can see that in my watch rings, because it comes up and it tells me. But that's the thing. It doesn't come up and yell at me and say, oh, you had a really bad day. It just comes up and says, here's what you've done. So I can take that information and say, yeah, not a good day.
I think the other
I should have a beer.
That's the word, but I think the other thing is how gentle those notifications are. I think that's important too. Is that it's not a trainer yelling at you. It's not anything else like it. It's just a very little. It's a little ring, and if it's not full, it's okay. It doesn't shut down. It doesn't. There's no unsmiley face or anything else like that. It's just fairly gentle little reminder. And if you have the right mindset, you can chastise yourself and say, "Oh, you know what? Tomorrow, let's try a little bit harder."
You are a device on my arm. Don't give me a smiley face, because I can smash you with a hammer anytime I want.
I mean, when I was going to a gym in Nashville and we hired a trainer, this guy beat the living hell out of me for a month, and I stopped going.
Yeah,
that's not what you want. I mean, maybe that's what he wanted, because that means the client's paid for a year in advance and he doesn't got to train them. But that's not a fun weight loss program. And weight loss just basically is not fun, kids. There's no way around it. There's very little about this kind of stuff that is fun. So anything you can do to make it easier is a good thing.
See, I think you brought up a good point. It's not fun, and I knew it wasn't going to be fun, but it doesn't have to be as difficult as what we think it is.
That's right.
And that's, for me, that's what happened. It wasn't as difficult as what I always thought it would be to do that, because I have to give up all the foods I like, and I didn't. I still eat all the foods that I like. I just don't eat them as often.
Yep.
I don't eat them 6 times a day.
Yep, that's right.
So and I'm one of these people who eat. I eat because I'm hungry. I don't eat because I love food. I eat because I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So if I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat. And that's it. So I'm lucky in that way, because I know a lot of people just love food.
Yeah, me.
And I don't.
Yep. No, I'm a big fan of food. So if we're going to put you in charge of Apple, of the Apple Watch program, how would you change the Apple Watch to make it a better, not a fitness device, but more suited to you? Are there things that it doesn't do that you wish it could do or do better?
That's a really good question.
I try.
I don't know that I have an answer for that, because I mean, yeah, of course there are things that, could you put more sensors on it to take more medical things that would help you
Yeah.
in what you're doing, but I rely on the accuracy of the watch.
Yeah.
And I just want to know that the watch is accurate, because that's what I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
Is this really how many calories I'm burning? Because I'm using that. But then again, the end result is that I'm losing. So if I'm losing, it's all good. Whether it's real or perceived or whatever, I'm still losing the weight. So, and I haven't been, what's that, yo-yoing or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I haven't gone down by 50 and up by 20 or up by 30 and down by 10. And, I go up and down, but, if I look at what I did that weekend or that week or how many times I exercised, then it all makes sense. If I look at my activity on my watch, then I can say, yeah, well, no wonder I gained a few pounds. Look, I haven't done anything to counteract, going out with my friends or, doing something. So that and that's the thing. It all makes a difference.
Do you weigh yourself every day?
Every day.
Yeah, I do the same thing. And for me, what's important is you can't get tied into the weight of that day. For me, I like looking at over a week period of time. As long as over a week or a longer period of time, I'm losing weight, then I'm okay. Because I'll get on the scale and I will have gained a pound from yesterday, but then I'll get on the scale 2 days from now and I'll have lost 3 pounds. Okay, good. So I'm 2 pounds is the good kind of thing. I'm not looking to lose weight every single day.
Well, no, you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
And the fact is, the more weight you lose, the harder it is to keep losing.
That's right.
It's pretty easy once you first start to lose that. So you have to set this goal of what are you happy with?
Yeah.
And when I look at it, could I be happy now? Sure. I've lost almost 50 pounds.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
I can be happy now.
Yeah.
But there's still more. I know that I seem to wear all mine on my gut.
Yeah, the typical of guys.
I've dropped 4 pant sizes and I've dropped shirt sizes and all that. But that's where I seem to wear mine. So if I do gain, it's noticeable right away. Yeah. And if I lose, it's noticeable. That's why, so much when I lost it, people noticed right away that saw me. So, yeah, it's just one of those things. I take it day by day. And if I have a bad day, then I have a bad day.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about that.
Exactly.
The day's gone.
Yep.
I'm not going to punish myself the next day.
Yep.
And, do double workouts and not eat all day. Although today I haven't eaten. So, I say that. And I haven't eaten today, so
I think that's the key. Is you can't beat yourself up. You're not a professional athlete. You're not a football player. You're not. This isn't your job. Don't beat yourself up if you gain weight over a couple of days, or just try to do better the next day. That's all. That's all you can do. Don't. Jim, you said this several times. I think that's probably the best piece of advice you can give yourself is take it easy. Don't overdo it at the beginning, and don't beat yourself up.
Yeah, and don't quit. Because you had a couple of bad days.
Yep.
It's not the end of the world. I mean, just keep going.
Yep.
And, over time, I mean, it took me a year or thereabouts to lose all that weight.
Yeah.
And, since then I've been still keeping it off, and I'm just as proud of the fact that I was able to keep it off as I was, losing it in the first place.
Yep.
So,
do you have I know I have a goal. I've got a particular a shirt that I absolutely love that I was too big for now. Do you have a goal like that? Is there a pair of pants you want to wear from high school or from back in Nova Scotia? I know I can't wait to be able to wear this shirt and have this shirt look good on me.
No. I don't have that type of goal. I mean, I had that one goal and I hit that goal and, I hover around it and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I would ultimately like to lose 10 more pounds beyond that goal. Mm-hmm. But when I met that goal, I could actually tuck my shirt in and feel good about it, So that was good, but it can't be a 2-month thing or a month thing where
Yep.
you're gonna, like in these magazines, you're gonna lose 20 pounds in 5 days.
That's
and
right.
stuff. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I try and exercise the best I can. I know I'm still not the healthiest person around, but I'm trying.
Yep.
So that's all I can do.
And you're healthier than you were a year ago, so that's great. Congratulations on that, and good luck keeping going. Speaking of things that I know you can do, because I've actually seen you do this, you've seen this story about Tim Cook's shitty photo. You take shitty photos. Do you think it's people slamming Cook over this is fair?
Oh, God. I feel bad for Tim because it could be so many things. Like with me, I don't know if this is the same for Tim, but with me, I take pictures and I figure they're fine, but I can't see the screen anymore. So, I have no idea if they're blurry or not because I can't see the screen. So.
Yep.
I took some pictures at the Metallica concert, and when I put on my glasses and looked at them, it's just one massive blur.
Exactly.
I don't know if I was playing air guitar and trying to take a picture or what happened. But if I don't have my glasses on, I can't see. So Tim took a bad picture.
Yep.
So what? I mean, what's the big deal? The fact is, you have photographers out there that take pictures with the iPhone that are beautiful.
Yep.
Tim took a picture and it was blurry.
Yep.
Who cares? But people are making this big deal out of it, and they shouldn't. I mean, he's making the company $1 bazillion, and that's all that matters. Is he a professional photographer? No. Does it matter that he took a blurry photo? No.
I think if it was anybody but the CEO of a company that purports to make a camera that takes great pictures, that has ads literally around the world showing the great photography that can be taken with this picture, I think there's the problem. It's not that it was a blurry photo. There were 18 million photos taken there, and 99.9% of them weren't very good photos. This is a bad photo. This is the same photo that millions of other people took, that every one of us would have taken at some point in our lives, a blurry photo. His mistake was the same mistake a lot of beginning photographers make. You don't check the photo before you post it or send it to friends, whoever it is, and you post it up on social media, and people will tease you. It just so happens that the person we're teasing is the CEO of Apple, and as Brian Moreau said in the pre-show, he's under his company's under a microscope with everything they do. So that being said, Tim Cook should have known better. This is where I think slamming Tim Cook is fair, because your company makes this device that you say is a great camera, and yet you use it poorly.
Yeah.
It'd be like the CEO of Ferrari going out and crashing a Ferrari.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
That's that kind of stuff. And then to make matters worse, and this is a weird thing that I think Apple does on a regular basis, which is so bizarre, they screw up the PR. They deleted the photo. Really? You think people wouldn't have noticed that you deleted the blurry photo?
Well, I don't really care one way or another, But I mean, I understand why people are on Tim because it was a blurry photo, but who knows why? I mean, he could have been walking when he was taking the photo. He was at the Super Bowl. Yep. He was excited, and he's walking, and he doesn't have his glasses, and he's taking a photo. My photo would have been worse than that, but nobody would care about that.
Exactly.
I get it, but
Monty in the IRC chat room says, Tim took a picture to have a memento of a place and time. It's his picture, not everyone else's. Get the hell over it.
Thank you.
No, it's not his. No, it's not his picture. He posted it to Twitter. If he had left that on his phone, then it's his photo. But you put it out in the world, you've got to expect to get criticized for it.
Oh, I don't. I have no issue with him being criticized just because of who he is and what he represents.
Yes.
He represents Apple. I get it.
And, deleting the photo just made it worse. If Tim Cook had simply said afterwards, I posted a bad photo, the iPhone's a great camera, but I'm a shitty photographer. If he had just said that, we all would have laughed and moved on.
How about the fact that if I post a photo and it's blurry, I just tell people to fuck off.
Exactly.
When they get, but if I post a photo and then delete the photo, does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. I don't care if he took a blurry photo. I don't care if he deleted a blurry photo. I don't care. I know from other photographers and from Apple's own campaign that people can take great photos
Sure.
using the iPhone.
Oh, absolutely.
I know that.
Yep.
But I'm not one of them. I am not one of them. I mean, my heart's with Tim on this one.
Yep.
Because I suck.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that point of view, but the problem is he is who he is. He is the CEO of a company that makes cameras and
Sure.
pimps the fact that we make really good cameras you can take really good pictures with. So therefore, you can't. Now, Brian Monroe said in the pre-show something interesting. I think this is pretty obvious that Tim Cook does run his own social media account. Should he have PR professionals running his Twitter account?
Oh, no. I don't want that.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't want that at all. I mean, I know some musicians, high-profile musicians, that have people do their Twitter accounts.
Yep.
And I can tell.
Sure, yeah.
And I told that they do their Facebook pages too.
Yep.
And I said, you're not fooling anybody.
That's right.
I know you. This is not you.
Yep.
And they said, yeah, but 99% of the people don't know.
That's right. Yeah.
They think it's me, and I don't have time for it. So
I just think that Apple could have handled this better. I think this was the PR boo boo that they should have seen coming, and they should have. And it was easy to fix. That's the other thing too. It was easy to fix the boo boo. Tim Cook simply said, "Sorry about the last photo. I'm not a very good photographer," and would have been done.
But do you know how many stories would have been? I mean, Reuters would have posted a story on that.
I think Reuters posted a story on the deletion. So people are going to post the story regardless. So you might as well control the story. If you had said that, then the story would have been Tim Cook, shitty photographer, not Tim Cook deleting photos because he's embarrassed about his iPhone. Mosquito says if Eric Schmidt had done this, nobody would care. Or Samsung CEO, nobody would care. Yeah, but that's not the point. The point isn't that other people, no one would have cared, someone else did it. The point is Tim Cook did it and people care. And he knows people care for better or worse, so you got to handle this stuff better.
Well.
Speaking of handling things better, we've seen this trend more and more recently. I want to get your thoughts on it. Mashables has a story that Wired magazine will soon charge readers who don't want to see ads on their website. We've seen this when it comes to, I think it's Fortune. If you have an ad blocker, and you go to fortune.com, it pops up with this message ahead of time that says, we're not going to show you the content until you turn off your ad blocker. Is that fair?
It's their company. They can do what they want.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I mean, if you talk to anybody, they want, well, not everybody, but people want everything for free.
Sure. Yep.
Except the thing that they're selling. They don't want to go to work and work for free.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not good. No.
Yep.
But everything else that's not involved with me, yeah, that should be free. So, all the people that want everything for free, music and content on the web and everything else, ask them if they would work for free.
Yep.
You're a car salesman, or you're a coder, or you're whatever. Would you work for free? Then give me your app for free, or give me a car for free, or give me whatever. I want it for free, because if my stuff is going to be free, then your stuff should be free too.
Yep.
And I have a real issue with the way that we seem. I mean, I pay for a lot of websites.
Yeah.
A lot of independent developers. I pay for a lot of stuff, and I don't mind paying, because those are the sites that I enjoy reading. I understand there are costs associated with doing that.
Sure, yeah.
So, we all want to make money.
Yep.
And we all need to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless you're willing to give up everything you have, don't ask other people to give up what they have.
I think part of the issue with this is that it kind of feels tone deaf from the point of view of the ad publishers, of the Fortunes and the Wired.coms, that a lot of us aren't using ad blockers because we don't want to see your ads. It's because the ads you've been showing to us are either irrelevant, annoying, poorly done, slow down our browsers, autoplay. I mean, Macworld.com, F you, who's ever running Macworld.com right now, and it certainly isn't editorial anymore. Having those autoplay ads pop up every goddamn time I show up to your page makes me want to use ad blockers on your website.
Then you can do what people should be doing and speak with your eyeballs.
Yep, that's right.
Don't go. And you know, I try and be very respectful of people, and the pages on the Loop are very simple.
Yep.
There's one ad on there if you'd like to click on it, and or if you see a sponsor and you want to support the Loop and click on that and buy a product from the sponsor. That's all great stuff.
Yep.
But I try not to push that so hard, you know, like autoplay movies and crap like that.
Yep. As far as I know, there's never been an animated ad on the Loop, has there?
No, not in the new one. No,
they're all graphic, and they're just a little simple, tiny. And those are ads I like. That's why I whitelist the Loop. That's why I whitelist websites that don't have offensive ads. But when there was one time I went to Fortune, and their website had 33 different ad trackers on the site and 15 ads, half of which were animated in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
No wonder we're using ad blockers.
Yeah.
You forced us, as MacMan, was it MacMan? MacMan said they created the need for ad blockers.
Now, I absolutely and 100% agree with that. I totally agree with it. I mean, the problem is the ads themselves, and that's why we were forced to do what we do. And you know, I couldn't agree more that it's the ad companies that brought this about.
Yep.
But you know, there are stronger ways to do it, and you know, not visiting is certainly one way. And you know, you brought up Macworld. I haven't gone to Macworld in a long time.
Yeah, since they fired you.
I can't stand those autoplay things. All of a sudden, I'm looking for the mute button, and you know, I can't stand it. So I just don't go. I you know, I visit Gruber, and I visit Shawn Blanc, and I visit Federico, and you know, there are people out there that have something to say. And I belong to Federico's membership.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the sites that I pay for.
Yep.
I value what Federico has to say, and there are a lot of people that belong to the Loop, and you know, I value that. So I have a responsibility to make sure that I give them quality content, but I also make the experience easy for them.
That's right. Exactly. And those are the sites I'm with you. Those are sites I like, I appreciate, and I enjoy. I find it really annoying when sites like Wired and Fortune, those kinds of things, turn off your ad blocker. Well, stop showing me shitty ads and I will.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
I think our good friend Dennis Sellers from Lowe those many years ago has been, I think he's still in Tennessee. I think he's hitting the meth a little too hard.
Why?
He's now writing for Apple World Today, and he says that he believes in the near future Apple is going to have a tactile iMac. In other words, a touchscreen iMac. He's convinced it's just a matter of time before we get a Mac with a touchscreen. Is Dennis stoned?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, there have been Macs with touchscreens, third-party things.
Yes,
you know, that you could do. I don't know that Apple will do it, just because I think Apple sees the future of touchscreen more in their devices rather than their computers. Yep. You know, touchscreen computers have been tried before, and it's one of these things that, you know, I don't know that it works, because it's not what you expect from a computer.
No.
When I use my iPad, especially my iPad Pro, and I set it up, I find it not difficult or annoying. I find it confusing sometimes that I actually have to touch the screen because the screen is so big. You know, I'm reaching for a mouse because it's more like a computer sometimes when it's sitting up like that. So that's, I don't know if that'll happen.
I think that I think a touchscreen computer in general is one of those things that we think is a good idea until you actually try to do it. And the idea of having to reach out constantly to poke at my screen. We've all seen touchscreens as kiosks in car dealerships or auto shows, where I've seen them mostly. Or you're ordering something online. There's big buttons that you can click to do these things. But for a day-to-day screen that you would reach out, it's fine on the iPad. It's fine on your iPhone because that thing is being held in your hands. But on your monitor, on your iMac, or on a desktop, I think it's a complete disaster. It makes no sense whatsoever. And why people continue to think that because someone else has done it in the past, Apple's going to do it in the future, I think fundamentally misunderstands what touchscreen desktops would be like.
It could be. It could be. I mean, I think, you know, when we look at the technology and where we are, what we can't see are the things that Steve used to be able to see. And that's five years ahead.
Sure.
And you know, I can't see that. I am not, unlike Elon Musk, I don't think I'm Steve Jobs. You know, I can't see that far in advance. And I don't know what it is that people will want out of technology in 5 years. There are people out there that probably do. I'm not one of them. So when you ask me about a touchscreen Mac, I'm thinking, okay, we're at an iPad stage, and the iPad will probably gain more ground over computers in the next 10 years. You know, so we're not looking at a 1 year thing here. So is that something that will happen? Well, who knows where computers will be in 10 years. I mean, computers could be gone. I mean, we could be talking on this show in 10 years' time tonight and say, remember when we used to have portable Macs? That was fun. That was fun.
That was the good old days. That's right. Hey, our final story is we've seen a lot of comments about this Error 53, where Apple seems to be possibly intentionally bricking iPhones that have had their home screen repaired through third parties. Any thoughts and opinions on this?
I think that they could have been more transparent about it, certainly before people updated. But, you know, Apple has never been one for allowing people to hack into their devices. Or see, this one is a bit different because it's a fingerprint sensor and, you know, is it security? If that's the case, then I you know, like I said in the piece that I posted, I can certainly see Apple's point in this.
Yes.
But if they had said, if you had your thing fixed by a third party, please don't update.
Yeah.
I don't know, something just to warn people before that nasty surprise.
Or maybe it could have recognized that the home screen was no longer an Apple home screen and not allowed the update for software.
Well,
maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think one of the problems that a lot of folks have is their viewpoint on this is, well, you shouldn't let third parties fix your stuff. But the problem is not everyone lives conveniently near an Apple store.
Well, and they were talking about the expense of doing that as well. And, you know, I'm that guy who takes his car to the dealer.
Me too.
To have it fixed, and I'm that guy who takes his the Apple stuff to the Apple store to get.
But that's because we can.
Well, I always think that's better myself.
Okay.
It's just, you know, I never wanted, and I've had situations where with a Toyota that I had in the past, I tore the transmission right out of the thing. It's a long story, but transmission was no more good. And I bought it new from the dealer. I had all the work done at the dealer. I took it in and said, I don't know what happened, but it stopped working.
Yeah.
It won't drive anymore. And they looked at it. I looked at my reports of, you know, service and everything. and I was bang on every single time for 4 years I was in there.
Yep.
And they replaced the transmission for free.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I kept up my part of the bargain, and I took it into them, and all the work was done, and that was a lesson to me, you know.
But as MacMan says in the RC chat room, the nearest Apple authorized place for him to fix an iPhone is 100 miles away.
Well, send it to me. I'll fix it.
So for Apple to say, well, then you shouldn't have these things fixed by anyone other than Apple authorized reseller. The problem is you can buy an iPhone from 100 miles away. You can't get it serviced from 100 miles away. So maybe Apple should just say, we won't sell you one. Well, no, they're obviously not going to do that. But there's all kinds of other ways they could handle this. As folks are pointing out in the IRC chat room, Mosquito says it should just throw up an alert and disable the fingerprint scanner. There you go. Problem solved.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, and that's what I tried to get at the beginning. There are things that Apple could have done to do this, and, you know.
I think this is another example of Apple PR just not handling things very well. I find this always interesting how their marketing is very, very good, but their PR tends not to be.
This has nothing to do with PR.
Well, the way you handle situations is PR, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I mean, this was done in engineering.
Sure, yeah.
You know, so it's PR now.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Folks, I've been talking to Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. He has his own 2 podcasts, The Dalrymple Report and Amplified, both available on the iTunes store. Jim, thanks for joining me, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Shawn.
Have a good night. See you.
Bye.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I get why Apple has done it. The problem is that they're expecting people to only be within a reasonable distance of an Apple authorized reseller, and that's just not the case for a lot of people who can. Amazon will deliver to you in the boondocks of anywhere in the world, but the Apple Store won't come to you. So it's a problem, and yeah, Apple definitely could have and should have handled it better. On tonight's Starting Point Photography segment, we're going to talk about low light photography. As I've said many times in the past, as I teach in my class, as photographers, we don't take pictures of dark. You can't take pictures of dark. You take pictures of light. And light is the most important aspect of taking pictures. How light bounces off of things, where light comes from, the direction light comes from, the so-called quality of the light, the color temperature of the light, or the actual temperature of the light. All this stuff is very, very important in trying to create good images. And how the light hits the sensor of your camera, no matter what kind of camera it is what dictates whether it be a well-exposed image or not. I was ragging on the folks, as I often do, at Cult of Macintosh. They have a story called How to Capture Long Exposures and Light Trails with Your iPhone. Now, a light trail is that, we've all seen that shot, the light trail shot where you'll see the image of car headlights or tail lights as if they were one long unbroken string of light. They're really kind of cool. They're a fun shot to do. They're a relatively easy shot to do with most cameras. You put your camera on a tripod, you open the shutter up for 3, 4, 5 seconds, whatever it might be, and you can get some really cool effects like this. You do these kind of shots when the light is low, because you have to hold the shutter open for a very long time so the shutter can gather in as much light as it can. The result of that is any light that's moving, any light that's a physical sender of light, like car headlights or tail lights, as they move away or towards the camera, they do a smear on your sensor. It really looks kind of cool. If those shots are stationary shots, then with no moving lights in them, you open your shutter up, leave it open for a long period of time so that light being reflected off the building can get into the lens of the camera on the sensor in dark or low light dusk conditions or sunrise, sunset conditions. So you have to keep that in mind when you're taking pictures, that what you're taking pictures of is light. And there are some times when there's just not going to be enough light. There's just some shots you're not going to get because there's not enough light for the device you're shooting with. The folks at Cultamac use this image as an example. It's not a bad picture. It's a picture of a fountain at night, and there's points of light that will provide some light for your camera. Not very much. You're not going to be able to see this picture as if it were a shot in broad daylight. But the problem with the Cult of Mac picture is that they then go on to say that the next image is a better shot. No, it's not. It's still a crappy photograph. It's still a bad iPhone shot. You can see the center of the image is a complete muddy blur. You can see that there's all kinds of blobs of light with no definition anywhere on them. And what's happened here is the photographer has taken his iPhone, put it on a tripod, and opened opened the shutter up and left it open for whatever period of time. Well, the problem is when you do that, things that are a little bit bright get brighter, but things that are really bright get even more bright. And so you have this blob in the center of your shot. It's a bad photo. It's no better than the previous one. They're both bad photos. So part of one of the things I teach in the class is that there are some shots you're just not going to get. They're just not. It's not going to happen. If you are taking pictures of light, then what you need is a device that gathers light better than other devices. Well, the problem is your iPhone has that little teeny tiny itty bitty little hole to gather light in. It's just not very big. And this is why the iPhone is, while it's a great camera, is not very good in low light conditions. That's why cameras like this is the Nikon. Oh, it won't come off. Come on. It's interesting. Well, why is that on there like that? My Nifty 50. Look at the difference in the light gathering capabilities of these two devices. Look at the size of the lens opening on the 50 millimeter versus the size of the lens opening on the iPhone. Well, of course, the 50 millimeter is going to be able to capture light better, more than the iPhone. You got to use the right tool for the job. If it's dark like this, maybe you can't get the shot. Maybe it's not worth the effort. Just take a picture in your mind's eye and move on. Don't beat yourself up trying to get a shot that is impossible to get with the camera you have. Now, that being said, one of the things you can do, now you can't do it in the native camera app, and we'll talk more about these apps on a future segment, but the app that you get when you just open up the iPhone and click on the camera app will not allow you to make any adjustments like what I'm about to mention. But other apps will. Manual app is one I use quite often. It allows you to increase the ISO of your camera. An ISO is a measure of the light sensitivity of your camera. The ISO is generally set at 100 on most cameras, and it can go up to, some professional cameras will do ISO of 1,000,000. Doesn't matter what that number is, but that's really huge. So if you can bump up the ISO, and maybe that can help you, that'll make the sensor more light sensitive, and maybe that'll help you capture these low light shots. But if you're using an iPhone, don't expect a whole lot out of low light photography. It just isn't the right device for low light photography. No matter how much Apple will do campaign, and you notice the pictures that Apple uses on their campaigns for the iPhone are great shots. They're often very, very up close, but they're almost always in good lighting conditions. I've been watching this. I don't think I've seen any low light shots from Apple on the iPhone campaign. It's because it's not a very good camera in low light conditions. Now, the reason why I came up with this segment was my lovely sister in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, Kathy, just got back from Jamaica. She sent me this picture, and she says, "Can you do anything with this image?" And so I bring it out, and I bring it into Lightroom, and just show this to you guys. That's the zoomed in shot. And her composition is good. I like what Kathy's, you can sort of get the idea of what Kathy was looking for in the shot. Here's somebody walking on the beach. There's the sunset. There is over here in the corner, you can see a two-masted sailing ship. You can see the nets in the water. The trees are kind of neatly framing. So you can kind of see what Kathy wanted to do with it. The problem is, as I'll show you here, Kathy's using the back camera on an iPhone 4S. Now, the iPhone 6, the latest version of the iPhone 6 doesn't take really great light, low light shots. The iPhone 4S was even worse. You can see that the f-stop was 2.4. ISO was only 50. So the sensor on the iPhone wasn't set to a very high ISO. So she wasn't going to get a very good picture out of this. The other issue is, if you look in the dead center where the sun was, look how overexposed the sun is in the center. Just a giant blob. That's just a nuclear explosion. And then down here on the bottom, it's all dark, because the camera just can't capture these kinds of images at the level that you want it to be. And part of the problem is, as I've said this before, as human beings, we forget that the best camera any of us are ever going to have is our own eyes. Our eyes have a greater dynamic range than any camera in the world. Certainly a better dynamic range than the iPhone. Our eyes can see in low light better than any iPhone can. So Kathy's standing there on the beach, and she sees this scene in her mind's eye. And in her mind's eye, she can see a particular kind of image. She can see the beautiful sunset and the shadows and the people in the foreground. But her camera can't capture that. Her camera doesn't have the processing power that her brain does. Not a lot you can do about that. The next DH says, did she shoot RAW or pocket camera? This is on the iPhone 4S, DH, so this is JPEG. That's the other problem. Because she's shooting with an iPhone and only shoots in JPEG, JPEG is a lossy compression format. So what JPEG does is it takes a picture, say it's a 8 megapixel shot, and it throws away what it feels to be unnecessary data and compresses it into a JPEG. And that's great when you want to email this stuff or put it on Facebook or do something with it, send it off to somebody. But it's terrible for trying to fix it. Because it throws away all that data, you can't bring a shot like this into Lightroom or Photoshop or any editing tool and do a whole lot with it, because there's so much data that was thrown away. Now, if you shoot RAW is exactly what it is. It's all the data that the camera can possibly capture and put it in the image. And then, because you have all the data, then you can bring it into Photoshop or Lightroom or Photos or whatever it might be, and manipulate a whole lot more the dynamic range. Here's an example of this. So she asked me if I could do anything with this shot, and I tried to change the white balance. That didn't do much. I tried to change the tone of it, and changing the tone of it was kind of neat, because what happens when I change tone, I didn't notice this before. Now we can see people in the foreground, and we can see the clouds in the shot. Now, I don't know. I'm not the photographer. I don't know if this is the image that Kathy wanted to create. Is this what she wants as her final image? I'll send her a test shot of this to see if this is what she wants. But for the most part, you can't do a whole lot about the shot. Now, when I texted her an image of this, she said, well, can you remove the guy in the foreground? Well, this is an example. I talk about this in my class all the time, is patience. Because we're using digital equipment, we can take multiple pictures. So what you can do is take the picture the way it is now, but then wait for something else to happen to take another picture. So if she had just waited for that guy to walk through the frame, she could have taken her own picture. Don't just take one picture and then move away. Take the picture that you see and then wait to see if some other images pop up. I mean, you're on a beach in Jamaica. You probably ain't going anywhere very fast. So check it out and see if you can't find something else that maybe speaks to you even more. Macman says a black and white or even sepia tone conversion might be interesting. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. The other thing, so you can kind of almost maybe get rid of the guy. See if I can't find where's the tool, the heel brush, and you might be able to go in there and cut him out. Do something to get rid. I'm just doing that as a real quick, dirty thing to see. But for the most part, this is, and no offense to my sister Kathy, who is a lovely woman, but not a photographer. This is not a very good photo. And sometimes, you know what, that happens. This is just like Tim Cook's shot. Sometimes you take bad pictures. And there's not a whole lot you can do with a bad picture. It's the programming term of garbage in, garbage out. If you've taken a bad picture, it's awfully hard to fix that bad picture on the other end. So your goal should be to take good pictures in the camera and then tweak them or sweeten them in software, as opposed to just taking any old shot then fixing it in Photoshop. That's not what you want to do. You want to work as little as you possibly can, tweaking things in software. Brian Monroe has said, Shawn, if the rumors are to be believed, the iPhone 7 will have 2 lenses. That should help with the low light photos. Not necessarily. And it's a rumor, so I don't much care. Emails. As always, if you want to send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. I love getting emails from you guys during the week or during the show or whatever it is that you might be doing. Just going through my email list. I got to find there's the emails. I got a question. Hang on. Where's this question from? This question is from Mac in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Does more megapixels really equal better image quality? Not as a 1-to-1 ratio. If it's the exact same camera, yes. Depending on what you want to do with the photo, you want more megapixels. But the vast majority of cameras nowadays are at least 8 megapixels, if not 10 or 12. And that's plenty for the vast majority of folks. Giant megapixel numbers are actually sometimes counterproductive. Because after a while, they don't matter. It doesn't matter if your camera has 30 megapixels. It doesn't necessarily mean there's a better dynamic range or anything else. It just means more data. What's important is the size of the sensor and the quality of the sensor in your camera. The bigger the sensor, the better the images in general. So it's not a 1-to-1 relationship with megapixels and image quality anymore. It used to be, but it's not anymore. I wouldn't buy a camera solely for megapixels now. If you have 2 cameras that are identical in all other ways, but one has more megapixels than the other, as long as one of them has more than 10 megapixels, you're going to be fine. That's for beginner. If you're a pro, you want as many megapixels as you can get, because megapixels matter to pros when they want to print stuff off. The more megapixels, the bigger you can print the thing off at. Or when they want to crop into an image, the more megapixels, the better in that case. But for the most part, for beginners, anything above 10 megapixels, you're going to do fine. And as MacMan points out, on a point-and-shoot camera, higher megapixels can start causing diminishing returns. It's actually bad to have more megapixels on a point-and-shoot or even a consumer DSLR. Because what happens is the sensor on those things is relatively small. So if you jam more megapixels onto that sensor, the megapixels, the actual pixels themselves, have to become physically smaller. Well, the smaller the megapixels are, the less good it is. Tiny, tiny, tiny megapixels are not as good as big megapixels. So if you have a camera, it's a full-frame camera that's got 12 megapixels, and then you've got a crop frame camera with 12 megapixels. Well, which megapixels do you think is going to be better? It's going to be megapixels better and a bigger sensor. So that's why sensor size is is more important. So hopefully that answers your question. Our friend Roddy Paw says, finally decided to buy a document scanner, even though I have a flatbed scanner. Flatbed scanners can't handle long receipts very well, and I wanted software to keep my stuff organized and searchable. I'm going to try Neat Receipts, but I remember your interview with the people at Doxy and you saying their software was better. I bought it using your Amazon.com link. Thank you very much, Roddy. I was thinking the Doxy software would help me organize the scans, but it doesn't do anything but show me all the scans in one window. It's also tricky getting the paper to feed correctly. Any suggestions for software that would keep everything organized? I don't want to upload this stuff to the cloud because I'll be scanning things such as tax documents, and I'd rather not place that on some remote server. First thing when it comes to getting the paper to feed correctly, are you having a problem? I always put mine off to the side on the Doxy scanner, sort of use one edge, Roddy, as the bumper to make it feed properly. The other thing you could do is tape your receipts to a piece of paper, to an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and then feed that through your document scanner. As to helping you organize the scans, I don't understand that. Because when I was using it, what I would do is I would scan, save as PDF, and then put it into a folder. I wouldn't do like 15 scans all at once. I would do them one at a time. That way I had a separate PDF for every single receipt. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but maybe you can give that a try. Scott Thrift from Australia says, hey, Shawn, I've noticed lots of people bitching and moaning on the tech news feeds about Error 53, an error message people are getting in phones when they have them repaired by third parties. Personally, I think anyone who takes their tech to a backyard repairer is asking for trouble, and Apple has no obligation to support the repairs. Would be interesting to hear your opinion on that of the other YMLers. Scott in Sydney, Australia. Well, Scott, hopefully you've heard our opinions on this. And in general, I don't disagree with you. The problem is not everybody is within easy distance of an Apple authorized reseller. There's the problem. If you have a choice and they charge the same, now I live in a major metropolitan area, so I'll almost always go to the Apple store. Like Jim was saying, he takes his car to the dealer. I take my motorcycle to the dealer. I'm the kind of guy who's always going to go to the dealer. But not everybody can get to the dealer. So you got to make sure that you keep that in mind. Scott Randall at the Long Island Macintosh User Group says, I agree with your views on diversity. I was just saying that it should not be forced. Someone not qualified or less qualified should not be hired just to force diversity. I completely agree with you on that one, Scott. If two are equally qualified, yes, give it to the guy or girl who would increase diversity. When you mentioned what a teacher said to you, I was appalled. I'm a teacher, and the only reason I might try to dissuade a student from pursuing a particular field is if his or her performance was so poor that they could not possibly perform in that field. Even then, my first suggestion would always be to do something to improve their performance. Number 2, Apple putting out a new OS X and new iOS every year is just too much too fast. You just get used to one OS and they spring a new one on you. I'm still using Mavericks. They finally upgraded everything I needed, so I'm slowly experimenting with El Capitan on an alternative drive. I would really like to see them fix and improve El Capitan instead of giving us a completely new OS that breaks various applications as it always does. iOS 9 works on my iPad mini, but not completely. After moving up to iOS 9, Safari frequently reloads the page, giving me the message, a problem occurred with this web page, so it was reloaded. I tried all kinds of fixes for this, and none work permanently. My wife, who has the same model iPad, gets this also. My only solution was to switch to Mobile Chrome for iOS. That would be fine, but it does not have reader mode, so I use readability and Pocket to make it easier to read articles of interest. Last up, you discussed buying the best camera for you. Well, it just so happens that my wife and I are going to Alaska this summer, so I really want a long zoom camera and tripod. Scott, if you guys are going to, I'm going to assume, is it a cruise? Because if you're going to Alaska on a cruise, you probably are stopping in Vancouver. And if you are, you better let me know. I really want a long zoom camera and tripod. I decided against the DSLR because of the weight and the bulk. Attached are reviews of the two cameras I'm considering. The Nikon got a better all-around rating, but it does not shoot RAW, and the Canon does. I'll be getting one of these way before I leave so I can learn the camera. So on the review alone, I think the Nikon will be better for me. What do you think, and do I really need RAW? whether you need RAW, and just going through this again, RAW versus JPEG. It was funny. My friend Antonio Rosario and Jared Earl, both, Tony is a professional photographer and Jared's a very good amateur photographer. This kind of came up on Twitter over the week. And someone said, which is better, RAW versus JPEG? And both Tony and Jared said, just shoot both. And they said, just shoot both. Storage is free. And I laughed at them and said, that's the perfect advice from professionals and utterly useless. The person didn't ask about storage. They asked what RAW and JPEG are and should they use it. But the pros are dismissive of the question because they've solved the problem a long time ago. This is their solution. They're pros, so just listen to the pros and do what they do. No. RAW versus JPEG. RAW is the uncompressed data of your photo directly from the camera sensor. Okay? It's got all the data. When you see people talking about multi-megabite multi-megapixel cameras, that's where those megapixels are coming. Is in, I'm just trying to open up Keynote, in RAW files. So, if you want to get the most out of your photography, if you want to be able to edit your photos, if you want to be able to mess around with your photos after you shoot them, then you want to think about using RAW files. RAW files are bigger. They're easier to edit. They've got more detail in them. They've got more information in them that make them with more dynamic range, with just everything to allow you to edit the photo and to do stuff to the photo. If you are not the kind of person who wants to do much editing on your shots, if all you want to do is take a picture and post it to a website and put it on Facebook or things like that, well then don't worry about it. Don't worry about RAW versus JPEG. Just shoot JPEG. JPEG files are also a lot smaller. I think I would say about 1/10 of the size most of the time. I'm actually trying to find an example of some JPEG shot that I was showing my classes, and of course I can't frickin' find them now, which is always the way. Where is this thing? Come on, DSLR Prince George. All right, whatever. Finally, I found it. Jesus, that took long enough. Okay, let me put this over here. Put you up to there. And play. Oh, God, it's not going to work. Okay, ignore all the stuff off to the side of this. This is, I think I can zoom in, can I? I can't zoom in. Of course I can't zoom in. This is a eagle shot. The shot on the left is 14 megabytes. The shot on the right is 540 kilobytes. Now, trust me when I tell you, you can't tell the difference. You cannot see the difference in these two images. It's just not possible for you to be able to pick out, for crying out loud, the minute differences in these two images. I can't even show you these two images because this thing just doesn't want to. View slide only. There we go. You can't see the difference in these two shots because it's on the screen. If you're looking at them up close, you can see a little bit of difference, but for the most part, you can't see the difference. From the RAW to the JPEG. 14 megabytes versus 540 kilobytes. So keep that in mind. If all you're doing is wanting to take a picture and post it to Facebook, post it to Twitter, email it to friends, JPEG's really fine for you. If you want to get into editing your shots, then shoot RAW. Now, some cameras will allow you to shoot both. You'll read your manual to see if it can do that. It's called RAW plus JPEG. My Nikon D600 does. A bunch of cameras do. And they'll let you shoot either just straight RAW, straight JPEG, RAW plus JPEG, and then there are different quality levels of each of those. MacMan says, on my D7100, the JPEGs are about a third to half the size of the RAW files. Monty, looking at a few of my directories, JPEG is 2.6 megabytes, RAW is 16.6 megabytes. Huge difference. Huge difference. Now, we used to worry a lot more about RAW files taking up a lot of space in your camera card. And so people would shoot JPEG because they get more shots on it. If the image, if a JPEG is a third the size, you can get that many more shots on your camera card. But nowadays I tell folks, just buy an extra camera card. Have extra camera cards on you. As we said before, the JPEG shots just aren't going to be as good dynamic range-wise because they throw away detail and data as the RAW file. So if you can, shoot RAW, edit in Photos, in Lightroom, and whatever your editing program is, and that way you'll get more flexibility out of those files than you were if they were just straight JPEG. Now, that being said, sports guys, high-speed sports guys, Sports Illustrated guys, they shoot JPEG. They shoot high-quality JPEG, but part of it's because their workflow is so set in stone, they're not taking bad shots. They're using the best cameras in the world. They're getting the greatest color. They know their exposure by heart. So what they're doing is shooting JPEG, and then those JPEGs are going to the Sports Illustrated head office and then immediately getting put into a magazine. They work fast. They don't need a lot of editing on their shots. So if you don't need a lot of editing on your shots, you can go ahead and shoot JPEG. But I'm a firm believer that almost every shot you take, certainly every shot I take, needs some kind of editing, needs a little bit of tweaking here and there, needs something done to it in order to make it the absolute best shot that you can make it. So if you can, shoot RAW. But if you can't, don't worry about it. If your camera can't do RAW, don't worry about it. So I guess it's a long way around of answering Scott's question. If the Nikon got a better all-around rating but doesn't shoot RAW and the Canon does, go with a better all-around rating. Unless you are a heavy-duty editing kind of guy. Otherwise, go with the Nikon. I think you'll like the Nikon better. Any other email come in the last couple of minutes? No, I don't see any more emails. So that's it, folks. We are done. Thanks very much for joining me here on the show this evening. Thanks to our good friend, as always, Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining me. If you have any comments or questions or things you want to ask about or anything at all, you guys know I love hearing from you guys. So please send me emails to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com or to onair@yourmaclifeshow during the week. Thank you guys for listening into the show. You know how much I appreciate you guys being tuned in, whether you're listening in live or you're listening in to the archive. So until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King. This has been Your Mac Life. See ya!